Hello. Today's episode number 71 of the Professor Slots podcast discusses players clubs. Who benefits, you or the casino? Plus, in this episode, I'll be covering the current state of slot machine casino gambling in the great U.S. state of Delaware. Thank you for joining me for the Professor Slots podcast show. I'm John Friedel, and this is a podcast about slot machine casino gambling. It is where I provide knowledge, insights, and tools for helping you improve your slot machine gambling performance. In case you missed it, on my last episode, I went over slots advantage play how-tos in a Q&A session streamed live to YouTube. Further, I reviewed Connecticut slot machine casino gambling in 2019. I hope you enjoyed listening to my last episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Remember, my weekly Q&A session on YouTube is on Saturdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring whatever slots questions you have, and I'll do my best to answer them. An easy-to-remember link to my live YouTube show is professorslots.com/live. Feel free to stop by anytime during my hour-long Q&A. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Here's a live recording of my most recent live Q&A session. Hello, everybody. Checking to make sure that we are up and running as usual. Where is the option to go live? Stream is healthy. Anybody want to? Okay. Another 20-second delay. Anybody want to comment? Make sure that you can see me. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Live chat. 3 viewers. Okay. Yeah. So I see an image and I see that I'm live and I see I have a 20-second delay and all the usual fun and enjoyment of being live on YouTube. Welcome everybody. Today is January 28th. I'd like to welcome the people that are viewing right now, all 4 of you, and it should climb rapidly as it has in the past, as more people come in. I also wanted to say hello to everybody in the podcast. I'm recording this. Hey, Steve. I wanted to say hello to everybody on the podcast. Welcome. And people viewing this, listening to this in the future. Excellent. Hey, Steve. Thank you, Steve, for telling me that you can see me. I have seen you on your photos. Some nice wins there. I meant to ask you, was that your first taxable jackpot, the one that you showed me? I know you were I think it was you that was interested in having a taxable jackpot. I may have this totally wrong. I'm sorry if I got this turned around. Okay, so we may have some extra people here today. There was a tweet that went out trying to tell everybody, within the hour before we go live. And one of the influencers retweeted me. So Steve Maggi from Vegas Never Sleeps, a podcast and radio show that's been around for a long time. He happened to mention it, so we'll see what the numbers are. Okay, so what I wanted to, first off, hey, Happy New Year. I know we've got a few more days to go, but this will be the last live session for 2019. And I think our next one is scheduled for the Saturday. I think it's the 4th of January. So Happy New Year. Otherwise, I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas. Happy holidays if you didn't. And safe travels and all of that. Steve, I was certain I had that wrong. Yes, 57 hand pays this year. Yes, how could I be more wrong? It does happen. It can happen. I admit that it can happen. I try to reduce it as much as possible. Okay, so end of the year. We shall see how many people actually do come in today. But it being the end of the year and holidays and et cetera. But I hope everybody had a good holiday, and I hope everybody has a wonderful new year. So let's, I'll start talking about players clubs, because I've been getting a lot of questions lately, and I wrote an article on this. What I should do is grab the URL. And I'll drop that into the chat so you can see an article I wrote. If you read my book, then you've seen some of the content that's there. But some of the questions, it's interesting. I have a lot of thoughts about players clubs and my own experiences with players clubs. But as I develop these, I have these communities, which I should show you as well. I'll grab that. For those who are on the podcast, I just provided a link called professorslots.com/players-clubs. And that's an article on my website, which is free to everybody. And you might be interested in taking a look at that, because it's kind of the starting point for our conversation today. When I look at I also wanted to provide a summary article, which is professorslots.com/online-resource. And I'll just share that as well here in the chat, the live chat in the YouTube, question and answer session. So those two things, have led me to understand players clubs a little better. People's concerns about players clubs. There's both concerns, there's not concerns. It's an interesting mix. Some people are concerned about putting their players club card into the machine because it'll mean that they'll lose. And if you've listened to or watched the previous Q&As, there was a brief mention of this a couple of sessions ago. And my response was, in official gaming regulations, where the gaming regulation, jurisdictions where the gaming regulations are excellent, like every U.S. state that allows gambling, it's not a concern if the slot machine covers that topic. I mean, if the slot machine is covered by the gaming regulations. You might say, why wouldn't it be? Well, there are class 2, which is covered by a different set of gaming regulations, perhaps not so laboratory tested. And then there's things like historic horse racing, HHR. Kentucky has those. I think Montana has tried them. And this is a non-tribal class 2. It's not even a class 2 really. And there are some concerns that they don't fall under it doesn't fall under gaming regulations, minor gaming regulations at best. And, those are there to protect you. That's why they exist, and those gaming regulations. So, people have been telling me, in Kentucky, that when they use their card in these HHR machines, it seems as though they lose more. And I trust that they know. So many people would say this, tells me that there might be something going on. But I also trust the state to enforce gaming regulations. But when there are none, there's nothing to enforce. So I worry about that. Just to expand this a little bit further, there's an area that I feel fairly proficient at this point on all U.S. gaming jurisdictions, including our U.S. territories. I've been studying them for a couple of years now, and every week, putting time into reviewing the slots, including gaming regulations for that gaming jurisdiction. Even Utah has a gaming jurisdiction. It's basically in their constitution, and it has the words prohibited. Gambling is prohibited. So that's the length of their gaming regulations. But I still call it a jurisdiction. But I did get contacted by a young woman in the Philippines who, I don't know if you know, but on the international scene, it's kind of wiggy. I don't know. Is that an actual word? In the Philippines, there's a huge amount of growth in slot machines. The most amount of growth, the gaming industry is booming. And it is, the most growth anywhere right now in the world, in the Philippines. Maker in training. Hey, if you guys have, kids and want to have projects with them, take a look at the, YouTube channel, Maker in Training. You want to share your link to your website or your YouTube channel? That would be awesome. Okay. So if you have, I expect, we are global. I am global. I like to tell people my sense of humor. I hope you appreciate it because it's the only one I have. I like to tell people I'm big in Australia. There's like 7 people there that follow me. So, from some of the statistics that I get. So, I am fairly focused on the U.S. because that's where my attention has been, but we'll have to expand to global. You're welcome. And we'll have to see what's going on there, and try to help people around the world, fruit machines in the UK and otherwise. Okay, so one of the things, because there's a lot that I don't know about the international scene. There's what I'm trying to understand better. I understand slots in the U.S., but I don't understand people's problems as much as I need to and want to, so I can answer questions. And there's been questions lately about players clubs. First off, the question has always been, and probably always will be, that can you trust to put your player's card into the interface on a slot machine, class 3 Las Vegas style slot machine? No question. Putting it in, will it affect your play? And there's a couple of different ways this question will go, but the majority of the ways this question will go would be, can they tell if I'm going to win? And the answer is no, because it's a separate system, for one thing. For another, how do I put this? Nobody knows in advance of winning. On some of the class 2 Vegas style, based on scratch tickets, truly, it's based on scratch tickets. The state lottery, I think it's Washington and Oregon, is based on scratch tickets, not draw tickets. So there's only a certain number of them. But, again, it's a lot of things going on and nobody can track it. So there's no worries there. Someone said that there's something I can do here to remind myself of something. Maybe not. In any case, someone said it's crazy that the international scene is booming so much. Well, the U.S. scene is booming so much. I've been writing articles on every state. It's the only reason I use my YouTube channel for a long time, just to embed videos on my website. It's not the proper use of a YouTube channel, although some people do that. And my goodness, it is, a lot of things are going on. There's a lot of casinos. It takes 3-4 years to build a casino. It's a big structure. It's a big building, and it takes more than that to get approvals. And there's licenses, which are like $40 million licenses. It's just a crazy amount of money. And it's helping. The intent is that it would help the gaming jurisdiction. In the U.S., that would be a state. If you look at the history, they talk about understanding history, or you might repeat it. One of the things that's pretty fascinating is prohibition, American prohibition, 1931 to 35. And before that, we had fruit machines. Slot machines were actually vending machines for gum. You would play a game and you would win a flavor of gum. And, it would spit out, and the bar symbol is actually like, imagine a Wrigley's, gum, sort of logo shape. That's what a bar is. It's a gum logo, the manufacturer of the slot machine that made the gum. and the slot machine. So that was put in place because people really got upset about the gambling, and they chose to shut it down, just as they were about drinking and alcohol. And so when speakeasies began to open, the slot machines went into that, and the gum went away, and it became, cash prizes or cigars from the bar, beer from the bar, or whatever. In the speakeasy, the rewards were what the speakeasy could provide, and the gum went away, and it boomed. Okay. It's that time period was American Prohibition, but with the speakeasies having slot machines and everybody had one, everybody wanted one, you had a boom in the economy, the manufacturing of slot machines. It's called the golden age of slot machines, and it went worldwide. Particularly afterwards, because afterwards you had World War II, early 40s, and before that, the U.S. got involved. And people needed, countries, governments needed income. And they saw that this is an opportunity to tax gaming. And when it's in a speakeasy, when it's illegal gaming, it's like sports betting. The reason why why sports betting is so popular? Well, people are doing it. I mean, let's move past why people bet on sports. But people are betting on sports. And if you don't legalize it, then the government isn't getting its 35%. They're not getting their taxes off that income. And they're like, that's not right. They get their share. So let's not make it illegal. Let's make it legal and get the money so that they can fund programs. That's the ideal, and it can happen. Can also not happen because people can misunderstand things, and we can talk about that in another session. But that's true for international, countries, not just federal for the United States, but also each state. And so a lot of states are pushing this because it is a way to get income. And it's not of huge interest to you guys, but I should mention that some of the U.S. territories, which are, U.S., there's 6 of them. Some of them are in really rough shape. These are little islands, island territories, multiple islands, think Hawaii or smaller. But Hawaii is a state, of course. Absolutely. But some of the other territories are about the same size, a little larger, a little smaller. And the economy is not as, they try to do stuff with tourism, like Hawaii's been so successful at, and sometimes they're just naval bases, sometimes they're just armed forces, bases, various bases. And there's not a lot of, the economy is pretty rough. Slot wins. One of the questions I'm asked is, how much do you have to play using your player's card to get a host, and how, do you interact? What's the process? Right. The process for, okay, I'll finish up, what I was sort of talking about when I didn't get on a tangent, there. I would say use your player's card. I remember a time, 2004, when, people, we didn't have these, cards for our grocery store. People were suspicious of using one of those. Why would we want to use one of those? They could track what we buy for food. And that's all gone away. A lot of people have that. It's a convenience at this point, but there was a lot of paranoia. I would say use the cards. It's to your benefit. Some people don't make a profit at gambling except with what they get from the players' cards, in part because maybe they spend all their winnings. And that's what they have left at the end of the year is the blankets and the TVs and the cruises and the whatnots. So the idea here is use your card. First and foremost, use your card. If you use your card, then you will earn points. There's usually 2 different kinds of points, and they're related. And I'm speaking for all players clubs. Okay. 2 sessions ago, I talked about advantage plays. 1 session ago, talked about advantage plays, and you have this cashback reward on your credit card where the more you spend, even if you repay it and spend it again, repay it and spend it again, like you have a business where you make purchases and earn income, you can get a lot of, cash back. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, only it comes in points and you get to choose. So there's different. Let me give you an example. You spend $5 and you get a point. You spend $5, you get a point. You are on a slot machine. Your card is in. You bet, a dollar bet. Let's say, and maybe 100 credits at a penny machine. You make a dollar bet. You do that 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on the 5th one, you win $1. Okay. No, excuse me. You win $5. Let's say you win $5. Okay. Well, then, you play that. And before it's over, you win $5. So you play that. And before it's over, you bet that $5. And before that's over, you win another $5. You spend that as well. And now you've got 5 points. And you've got $5, just like you started with. And so the process goes. It's called bankroll cycling. Now, maybe you're down to $4, maybe you're up to $6, but you are making, you're spending money, even if it's money you've just won, and that accumulates these points. Now, for every 100 points you might, that you've won, so you spent $500, but you might have won $5 100 times. So it's not as extreme as you might think and that's the point here. You can spend a lot of money by going into the casino with $20. You might spend $300-$400. You might get 60 points from that $20 because unless you just put it in the slot machine and you just lose, which is, don't do that. Thanks, Dean. I'll get to your question in just a moment. I'm currently in my long-winded answer. Now you earn points. In the Players Club, it's actually broken up into tier levels. You don't see this in Airline Loyalty Club. Oh, you do sort of see it there. You don't see this at the Kroger Club card, the grocery store card, but you might see it on a airline, a Delta or whatever. You have diamond status, and so you can move up in tiers. I understand that there is a Modern Family episode which explains a lot of this. If you follow that television show, that was a couple of years ago. Anyway, I helped all my friends understand what I was talking about. So you earn points. You spend money, you earn points. You win money, spend that, you earn points. You're bored. Earning points. Every 100 points might be $1. That you could actually pull from the system and spend. Now, it might not seem like, you spent $500 to get 100 points. And then, from that, you get $1 in cash or slots play that you could use. That's basically the setup. You got 3 different numbers. How much you put in. Well, actually, there's 4 different numbers. How much you put in, how many points you earned, and then how many equivalent dollars that might be. Now, when you're in the Players Club, you can also sometimes get multipliers when you're as part of your comps. Okay, so you do that for a little while, and if you might be playing $2,000 and you might be winning $2,000 every once in a while, you would accumulate points. And when you get to 10,000 points, then you might become the next tier. You might not be the beginner tier. You might be the next tier or the one after that. Now, this is where I have to take a step back and say, in a Players Club at your casino, how many tiers, how many levels are there? You have to find out. There's usually 4, sometimes 5 tier levels, with the top tier being difficult to get. I spent, how do I put this? I'll just say it straight up. I got $120,000 in hand pays, a couple of years, but let's just focus on 1 year because your tier status lasts for 1 year, for the year after you earn it. So you spend the whole year getting up to a top tier, and then the next year, you're top tier. And if you want to have it the next year, you have to do it again. as a top tier. And read the article. This is all very succinctly explained there. But you need to find out from your casino what the Players Club rules are. And you need to find the brochure that explains how many points it takes to get to the next tier. You actually have to invest in this. You have to perhaps choose a casino near you that would have the best Players Club. I talk about assessing nearby casinos when you have several choices, which one would be best for you. You might want to choose a casino with a Players Club that actually is maybe a Caesars Entertainment or an MGM, something where you can travel and find another casino with the same players card. You get a lot of these isolated casinos where their Players Club is only good for your spot. And then you get the stuff in between, like Rivers Casino, which is Sugar House in Pennsylvania and Rivers in Pittsburgh. And then you get these, they're also connected to a few others across the nation. And you put a big investment in Players Club, and you want to make the most of it if you travel. So now, when you get, there's two things that. So I'm still answering Steve Slotswin's question, which is hosts. I got to top tier from the bottom tier in 6 weeks. All right, knew nothing about tiers. I mean, very, very, very little. And, I was winning and I was spending and I was winning and I was spending and I was winning. And I just blew through those. Not that I was even recognizing it. Poor fellow, came over to me, Justin and friend of Bubba and, the high limit players. And they're like, I want to go get the new card. And I'm like, really? Does that matter? And they're like, yeah, it really does matter. And turns out, there's the cruises and all the other stuff and the status and the short lines and all of that. But I also got an executive host, a senior executive host, because we're talking a lot of money there. And the casino, would assign an individual to you. Now, when I researched this, I talked to my senior executive host, who happened to be the host manager at that casino, and it was a Horseshoe at the time. It's changed since then twice, but a friendly guy, and he told me that he had 900 people that he would check on, but a lot of them would just be visiting once or twice a year to the Cincinnati area, and basically he asked me all kinds of questions. What do you like? What kind of food do you like? What kind of, sports games? What restaurants do you, what kind of music do you like? They took me to dinner, and $100 meals and each of us. And they just wanted to get to know me so that they can satisfy my needs. I guess that was a very strange experience. But when you get a host, and I got one at top tier, would I have been able to, that's the one thing. That's one way to do this. Go to top tier and you'll get assigned a host. I went to the next casino and I asked if there was hosts. There was hosts. But there was only a couple of them. Wasn't as thorough as Caesars Rewards, Total Rewards at the time seemed like. This is what I meant by the small casino players club, where there might be one person, who also does the Christmas decorations. And so, you might not be able to get as much from them, might not be as, thorough, getting to know your interests and all that and trying to be friends and calling you up to let you know of offers and all of this. But then there's the other side of things, which is if you're not top tier, there used to be a office that you could go knock on. And I certainly, when I was talking to my hosts, they would always be interrupted by a whole line of people who were like, well, I'm not top tier, but I understand that you can help me. Can you get me stuff? And so you'll have people who aren't at top tier, coming in and meeting the hosts, and like the not senior executive host. I just stood and watched this so many times. They would come in and they'd be like, I just spent $200. What you going to do about it? Like, well, you came here and you gambled and you lost. By the way, I'm not saying it right. They're much more professionally. I just said several terrible things that would have been, waiting to be jumped on. And I just, it was such a scramble. And they were like, well, I need to talk to the senior executive host. Well, I understand why you would want to, but no, that's not going to happen, sort of things. And so, be polite when you talk to the hosts. Someday they will be assigned to you, which is an entirely different experience. And that's what happens when you get to the top tier. Sometimes it can happen when you're second to the top tier. And that's how that works. Was there anything else about, hosts that, would be useful? I think I got all to the questions. See, when you have a host, then you interact and they'll call you up and want to make sure you don't miss something. And they're genuinely helpful. This is not about them trying to get you to come in and spend money. You're already doing that. They're there to sincerely help you. The one thing I wanted to explain, the interaction between seeing a host and saying, I wonder if this, as a player, low tier player, everybody starts there. If you see this person and you try to get them to do stuff for you versus they come to a high limit player and say, I'm here to help you. One of the best ways I know how to describe that is I go into a casino. I put my Players Club card in. Within 30 seconds, there's a person in a suit standing next to me saying, is there anything I can do for you? I took my manager from my day job to work, from work to the casino, where I was trying to learn stuff. I took my day job manager to my evening, hobby, which turned into a business, and did that, put the card in, and 32 seconds later, Shauna showed up and he's like, where are you? You were late. And I was like, back off. She's got a little baby and, this and that. And hosts are like family. Right. And I guess that's basically the process. If you have specific questions about hosts, I'm talking kind of to a general audience here. If you have specific questions, like for instance, I had a host, the gentleman the first one decided to do a career change. Wanted to get more into the executive side of stuff. And I got a new senior executive host and we did not hit it off. You're looking for somebody that you have chemistry with, that you can relate to. And, there are not good hosts out there. So we can, if you have questions like how to switch hosts and stuff, just let me know. Can casinos control the payout percentage on Keno machines? Well, the answer to your question is the word machine. Is the Keno going to be a bunch of balls in a cage rolling around and a ball comes out? Then not really. It's like controlling the odds of poker when you're playing cards. You can change, is it Texas Hold'em or is it Mississippi, whatever? You can change the rules of the game and then that's how you control the payout percentage when it's physical like that. But if the Keno is electronic, and I don't mean the display, but I mean where are the numbers picked? Is it a ball coming out of a cage with a bunch of other balls? Which case, all they can do is adjust the number of balls, which is not something they do for Keno. So if they electronically pick them, like you play poker and it's a card game and the rules of the game are the only way to change the payout returns. Then you go and you play the same game on a video poker machine. It's not the same game. Even if it has the same rules, it's not the same game because it's an electronic device which can be adjusted. And it's not determined by shuffling and the random universe. It's determined by electronics, which are trying to simulate that. And these things are adjustable. So look at your Keno and find out whether, find the drawing and see if it's a bunch of balls being pulled out of a cage with others, in which case, all they can do is just change the rules of the game. Thanks, Dean. Slot wins, going to the next chat message. So I'll try to say the chat messages for the people listening later, on the podcast. Those that are watching this later, there is a live chat window, which will be available later. If you have to scroll to that point in the video in order to see, like, if I were to put a link out there right now, you'd have to wait until where are we at? We're a bunch of minutes. We're 33 minutes, 25 seconds in. So you would only see that chat message at this time point or after, and it would continue to scroll. I hope that makes sense. In any case, let's see. Right. Great answer. Thank you. So the chat messages are Slotwin says, great answer. Thank you. I'm a gold card at MGM. Anybody else want to comment about being a gold card at MGM? Feel free to drop that into the chat. So not a top tier. However, I still contact him and ask for useful things. It's a bit limited, but very useful. Absolutely. You don't have to be top tier, but it gets harder the lower tier you are. Easier the higher tier you are. At the top tier, it was pretty special. Hello, sir. Anything you need, sir. Think harder about what you want, sir. We're here to help. And I'm like, me? What? And so it was interesting meeting executives from the casino. Oh, I've heard about you, anyway, pretty special and rare, as special things sometimes are. But you can still find them useful for, at the next tier down and even answering questions. They're probably the most knowledgeable people at the casino. Because one of the things I wanted to say is, I'm giving you gold here. All right. If you go to the counter, get a brochure about the Players Club. Okay. You can try asking the person at the counter, but they don't know. Honestly, they don't know. Think about it. How could they? As an employee, they cannot gamble at that casino. They could gamble at other casinos not owned by that casino. So they might know somebody else's Players Club, but not their own unless they read the brochure. So they don't know it like you know it. So just I was a bit surprised by that, but, get the brochure. Maybe sometimes on the website, it'll tell you what the tier levels are. But there's so much that they don't tell you. There's really, seriously, the cruise? What cruise? There's a cruise? I didn't know there was a cruise. They gave me a piece of paper that was photocopied. You ever seen one of those pieces of paper that was photocopied many, many times? And it was like folded 4 times and it was kind of like got creases in it and stuff. And this is like, they're like, here you go. Here's the telephone number 800 number for sign up for the cruise. And, you get one free one and this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, oh, all right. Can't send me an email. Anyway, it's so some of these Players Clubs, and that was Caesar's Rewards. That was Total Rewards back before it was called that before that. And I thought, you really do have to learn the Players Club at your place. And it's not clear. Talk to other people at your tier level at these dinners that you offer you and connect. That's why I have, I provided professorslots.com/online-resource as a link to my Facebook groups. I have 56 of them, one for each state and territory. And also Professor Slots, enthusiasts, for kind of like the world and the nation. But go to your state, sign up, and talk to other people's in your state. And I ask everybody to share what their favorite casino is and why it's their favorite casino. And then you'll be able to say, hey, are you top tier? I'm top tier. Are you lower tier? What's your tier status? And, what's the best way to wring the most out of these people, these Players Clubs? And that's what, in part, what those state by state Facebook groups are, and seems to be working on some of them. I got my first member of the Alaska slot machine gambling. You can just go to Facebook and look up state name, slot machine casino gambling. And you'll find us. But I've got my first one in Alaska, and I'm so happy for them. They have an antique slot machine. It's not antique. It's like 1970s, has electrical power that they want to get repaired. So I'm trying to help them. All right. So, post compensation work related to the players they represent. Steve asks the question, post compensation work related to the players they represent. I'm not quite sure what your question is. How does the host compensation work in relation to players' wins and losses? The host is I've had a couple of conversations with a couple of different hosts. The one at Foxwoods that helped with Gamblepalooza April last year, Cousin Vito's Casino podcast, we ran it that year, and they've been wanting to do another one. When I talked to that host, he seemed pretty clear that he's an employee of the casino. They're not compensated more or less. It's his job to interface. Now, these are whales. Okay. We tipped him. I mean, this is a lot of people, a lot of podcasts, a lot of conversations on gambling are not about slots. And I'm filling a niche by doing this. One of the things that you might find on a poker podcast or a blackjack podcast, or where they talk about table games, is how do you tip? And it's with dealers. We don't have dealers. We have slot technicians. I shouldn't say technicians. Slot attendants, floor managers, and hosts. Floor managers cannot be tipped. I don't know if you knew this. They are there to provide oversight on any hand pay that's $10,000 or more. And they have other roles having to do with supervising the slot attendants, the ones who come over. So you get 2 slot attendants to verify the hand pay. But one of them has to be a floor manager if it's $10,000 or more. One of these things that you pick up with experience. And, so the host can be tipped, and they don't tell me what they're tipped. So we are talking about our casino hosts for Players Club programs at casinos. The super channel is, what are we talking about? We're talking about Players Clubs. The specific question that we're being asked, and you can follow this in the chat, is how is the host compensated by a casino? Rather, how is the host compensated at all in relation to players' wins and losses? And they're not. They are an employee of the casino, and they have a job to do. There is the possibility of tips, and that is not insignificant when we're talking about whales. But we cannot tip floor managers. We can tip, and I encourage people to tip slot attendants every time you get a hand paid, or otherwise when they bring you a drink, a couple dollars for a drink. That will work. But, I actually never did. I never tipped my host. They never asked, and I never did. I wonder if they can actually be tipped. Now their performance, I think has to do with people coming in. The host that I had, the senior executive host that I had, said he had 900 people that he was working with who come to the casino, but not all of them are locals. Not nearly all of them are locals. If he can get them to come in, if he can raise his percentage, because as soon as you put your Players Club card in, you know if he was successful or not. That's the compensation. But I don't think it's going to be wins and losses. The super channel. Is the casino, do people yell swearing if they lose? In the casino, do people yell swearing if they lost? You mean we are slots? Okay. If you push a button and you don't win, you can get up from the machine and go play another slot machine, or you can bet again. We don't yell when we bet and lose. Now, we can certainly yell when we win. And you could probably hear us throughout the casino. But I never did. In fact, there's, the machine will yell. There is, if you've ever played a slot machine, and hopefully you have, and you won something, it does something called, the term is called roll up. So it will ding, 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 ding if you won 5 credits. Ding, 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 ding. If you won 10 credits, if you won 3,000 credits, the dinging can go on for a while. And there's lights, there's more sounds, it plays music, and it flashes lights, and it gets to be pretty darn dramatic. Unless you press a button, which terminates the roll up. And it might get one ding out of me, but I usually caught it before the first ding because I wasn't interested in having a crowd around me. I don't want people to gather around me. Sometimes they would, which was another weird experience. Go with somebody to watch your back. Usually they're pretty friendly. All it takes is one though. And when you're winning, they get kind of upset. We could talk about that, but, they can. So no, there's no yelling if we lose. We lose all the time. But we win 90% of the time. But it might be 100 bets and one win. Hopefully not. Move to a different machine if you're doing something like that. No. What does happen when people are sitting at a machine, there is a lot of praying going on. You also see people being pretty aggressive. I've talked to slot attendants who like, why is this machine broken? It looks like it's cracked, windows cracked, glass is cracked. And yeah, people punched it, so you get, there was one gentleman, used the term loosely, drunk off his whatever. And it was crowded night and everybody's, the game had just gotten out. The baseball game had just gotten out and it was just crowds of people. And I'm just sitting there winning and winning and winning. And him and his girlfriend, and if she'd had a drink, she might have had one, but she was just steering him around because he was just belligerent. And, you put a fist through a slot machine. I mean, he didn't, but others I haven't been there for that. I've seen people punch things and it didn't break. And you get that usual kind of behavior. So, but when you see that, it isn't because they lost. I mean, I think you're a table game player. If you make a $10,000 bet or a $5,000 bet or a $1,000 bet, or a $500 bet, you can't do that in slots. You're doing that at a table game. I can see where you might swear for that, I guess. In a case, if you were, I think I've seen a $500 slot machine. Certainly there's almost every casino has a $100 one. You're going to swear, but you lose $100. Anyway. Right. So slot machines, players clubs, questions. We have a bunch of people on the stream. Let me make sure all our health is good. And that's great. 8 people. So, tell me, what have you wanted at a casino? Through the Players Club, as a member of a Players Club, what interesting things have you won? I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours. So put that into the chat. What have you won at a casino? Some of the things, I had to have like a spare bedroom for the stuff. I kind of accumulated things for a little while, and then Christmas came along and I regifted, all these nice boxes, all the best thoughts that people at the casino could come up with, glass pitchers and, drinking cups and pitchers, to go with it, a set. just photo after photo after photo. Some of these are on my Facebook profile, where the other place I'm going live right now. And if you go through some of the old photos, I just try to take a picture of everything, blankets and stuff. Wise Virgin, says Richard, I think, I played a friend's player's card and out came their host to greet me. Oops. They know everything. I don't know if there's actually any rules against that, because one thing that can happen is spouses can, who both like to play slots, will use each other's cards. In this way, if you can build, you can put all of that play onto one card, and because you're married, that kind of works. But you have to have the one, you can't cash in on the rewards, if it's somebody else's card, but they could. And I hope you got properly compensated for that. Would you recommend a players club if you gamble once a year? Do points roll over? Points do not roll over. Points, not exactly. If you get a tier, and it's a one and done. So, if you join a players club, you give them your social security number, you give them all your information, where you live, your email address. Some things can change, some things cannot change. If you're going to get a hand pay from the IRS, they need to know your social security number. And if you ever go back and say, oh, I'd like to get a players club card, they'll print you out another one of the account that you already have. That's one thing. So when you get signed up, you can get $20, and a free play, which comes through the interface, and you can call for it and you can play it, but you can't take it away in cash. You can only play it. Sometimes it might be 50, sometimes it might be 10. These things move around. But you have to spend the whole calendar year to get up to whatever tier level that you would reach. And then you have that tier level for the rest of the year. So let's say your first tier through April, then you could become second tier, then your second tier through June, through August, in June you become third tier, in August you become fourth tier, and then just, the last week of December you become fifth tier. And do you go back to first tier the next year? No. The next year, you are going to be that top tier the whole year. It took you a year minus a week to get to top tier. And then, the next whole year. In fact, for Caesars Rewards, the Horseshoe properties and Caesars Entertainment properties, for me, it was actually the whole year, plus about 4 months of the following year, because they want to, let's say you don't get to top tier the next year. They want to give you an opportunity for the next year to maybe not lose your status. So it usually lasts the following year and a few months into the next year, after which it drops. Now, one thing I want to mention, I just want to make sure I mention this. If you have a tier status other than the most basic, and you go to another casino which doesn't have that players club, take your players club from the previous casino to that new casino, particularly if you're top tier or even second to the top tier. Go to that new casino and say, well, I'm new here, but I'm this tier over at that program. And they'll put you at a probationary status, at a higher level. And you sort of have to prove, you have to spend money and win or whatever, to sort of maintain it. But they won't put you all the way down to the bottom tier. They'll bump you up a little bit. And if you're top tier, they might make you fourth tier, at other casinos. So if you get to top tier at any players club, take that to the other casinos, and temporarily, unless you maintain it, you'll drop back down, but you can use that to go to a lot of different other players clubs and be fourth tier, which might get you a host. So, when you get to top tier in any one program, that's actually valuable in other ways, other casinos. Questions? So would I recommend a players club if you gamble once a year? I would recommend it for, just getting that free play, at $20. $20 is $20. You can only spend it on a slot machine, or in the store or something. And that's what you get for signing up. Now, what happens if you were to win? I mean, and do you know if you're not going to gamble for the rest of the year? Accumulate the points as soon as possible, and you have it. You don't even have to keep the card. You just go back in and have them print you out another card. Wise Virgin was lucky to be given a VIP 7 stars card, but says companion on it. Get to eat free in the VIP lounge and the free valet parking. I was 7 stars. Right. A couple of years, 2-3 years. And then it kind of became less than it was. And I decided to do this business and not do high limits as much and learn more about non-high limits for you guys. So that progression occurred. But when I was high with seven stars, I got a companion card. A companion card is you can pick one individual for the year, the calendar year, to have that card, and they can get some of the perks of the 7 cards member. I went to my annual dinner, our annual trip and I chose Las Vegas, 4th of July. And the second time I took my sister, recently divorced, never stayed on the strip, stayed off strip. And she just loves that place. She goes a couple times a year. So I'm like, well, let's go. And just like where we're staying, I've got these coupons and I've got these economy places and budget hotel. And I'm like, oh, we're staying at Caesar's Palace. We're doing what? I'm like, yeah, we got a $500 room credit and $800 in vouchers. And I got like $1,700 that we can spend at any of the Caesars properties on my points, because I got $875,000 in points to get to 7 stars. And it rolled over. That will roll over. What roll over is the amount of money you have, but you have to actually put the card in the machine every 6 months. Otherwise that goes to zero. So yeah. So I'm just like, and she's just like blinking at me, and I'm like, oh, and here's your companion card. Let's go to the Diamond Lounge. And I think I mentioned that story before, which is, you turn the corner on a holiday where Californians come to visit on 4th of July, and you see this long wall with a long 200 people. And I'm like, okay, I got to explain how this works. And she's like, oh, we have to get in line. I'm like, actually, no, there's a short line down at the end. Nobody's in it. We're going to go there, but we're going to have to walk past these people. And I want you to think about the feeling on the back of your neck, little daggers, the 2 pairs of eyes on your back of your neck, and walking down this. And I said, you got to strut, not too much, but a little bit. And so, we walked down into the entrance, and she went in, and she thought that was kind of like, yeah, I said, yeah, center of attention. And we went in, and there's free drinks at, Caesar's Diamond Lounge. And she just went back the whole trip, right? 3 days, 4 nights, and free food, gourmet food at the Diamond Lounge. And that was all nice. Right. So the companion card is congratulations, Richard. And so what else can I wrap up here with, Players Club cards? I didn't see anybody saying, what they might have gotten. The thing that I got was notification from the host. I was fourth tier, one down from the top tier, and mostly, partly I earned my way there, but I was also bumped up when I told them I was 7 stars at the nearby casino, another casino. So that combination worked out well for me. But one of the things they didn't come to the machine. It was it's now a Boyd Gaming, Belterra Park, not the Belterra Resort in Indiana, but the Belterra Park outside of Cincinnati and the Ohio side of the border. And, they didn't come to the machine when I came in, but they might wander over. Usually I went and saw them over in their office. And that's, small players clubs are different from bigger ones, and bigger programs. And I went over and saw them, and they're like, hey, you're going to come to the drawing tonight. I'm like, there's a drawing? Yeah, we've been planning a promotion for like 3 months, and we had this trip and that thing at the end of the first month and another thing at the end of the third month. And now the grand prize, we're going to do the Mercedes-Benz E350, giveaway. And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, you might want to think about it. I'm like, yeah. So how does it work? And they're like, well, it's a promotion. You get an entry for every $100 you spend. I'm like, really? Because I've spent a lot of money here. One more, but spent a lot. And I'm like, can you look up how many entries I have? How many drawing entries I have. And she said she looked it up, and I think the number was 237. I wrote it down in my book, but 240, about 240 entries. And I'm like, that's 240 times better than somebody who'd only spent $100 in the last 3 months. That's pretty good odds. And I got to thinking more and more about it. And I think I might talk about this next time. Or one of these times about what it's like to win a car, because it's like having being a players club member. It's not quite what you think. And the documentation isn't there. You have to talk to other people who've done it, because a casino, any employee doesn't gamble at that casino. How would they know? Did they used to gamble or something? So they're not really up in the rules, not like you are. So we have to talk to each other. And that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we talk about on the groups, for the state by state Facebook groups. Your state slot machine casino gambling is the title of it. And you can search for it on Facebook if you use Facebook. Sometime we will talk about what it's like to win a car, because there's this whole interaction that takes place. And if you don't know, then you might make a wrong decision or a less than ideal, decision. So, right. We are, getting towards the last little bit. Any last quick questions? Please let me know. I will see you in 1 week from today, and we will, get back to this. Next time, if you have a topic that you'd like to cover, do let me know. I will pick something that seems to be part of conversations and emails. If you have questions, email me. Also, I am going live. I'm going live. I'm live right now. I am going to be putting out daily videos beginning January 1st, and I'm already towards the end of the year, or end of the month, and setting these up. So we'll see if I can endure doing that. So you should see a lot more content on this page, on this channel, that has to do with studying each individual question and concern and other things having to do with slots. So you can expect to see that sort of thing coming up. In any case, have fun, be safe, make good choices. Happy New Year. Bye. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Up next is the second segment of the show on slot machine casino gambling. Here I provide a brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district, emphasizing by far anything of interest to slot machine casino gamblers. Up next is Delaware slot machine casino gambling in 2019. Here goes. Delaware slot machine casino gambling consists of 3 casinos offering video lottery terminal, VLT, style slot machines controlled by the Delaware Lottery Games. Besides video slots, these VLT machines offer video poker, video keno, and video blackjack. Further, Delaware has established both minimum and maximum theoretical payout returns. Moreover, return statistics are publicly available online from the state. The minimum legal gambling age in Delaware depends upon the gambling activity. For land-based casinos, it's 21. For poker rooms, it's either 21 or 18, depending on if alcohol is served. For bingo, the lottery, and pari-mutuel wagering, it's 18. In part, Delaware gaming regulations define a slot machine as a gambling device that must eject something of value. Therefore, Delaware's VLT gaming machines do not use a ticket-in, ticket-out paper vouchering system. Instead, they accept and pay out in cash or tokens. At Delaware's casinos, the minimum bet is 1 penny. The maximum bet is $2,500. Notably, Delaware has a policy of winner privacy. Slot machines fall under this privacy stipulation, so casinos cannot release the names of winners for promotional purposes unless the winner specifies otherwise. Next up is a usually short statement about slot machine private ownership, which I have included in case you live in this U.S. state and are considering owning a slot machine. Here it is. In Delaware, it is legal to own 25-year-old or older slot machines privately. The Delaware Gaming Commission is Delaware Lottery Games. This state agency is responsible for providing gaming regulations for VLT-style gaming machines and table games. However, enforcing Delaware's gaming laws is the responsibility of the state's Division of Gaming Enforcement, DGE. In this next section, I'll discuss Delaware gambling establishments. There are 3 pari-mutuel racetracks with video slot machines in Delaware. The largest casino in Delaware is Dover Downs Hotel and Casino with 2,250 gaming machines in September 2019 and 41 table games. The second largest casino is Harrington Raceway and Casino with 1,732 gaming machines in September 2019 and 30 table games. The 3 casinos in Delaware are 1. Casino at Delaware Park in Wilmington, located 37 miles southwest of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 2. Dover Downs Hotel and Casino in the state capital of Dover, located 53 miles south of Wilmington. And 3. Harrington Raceway and Casino in Harrington, located 25 miles south of Dover at the Delaware State Fairgrounds. There are no tribal casinos in Delaware as this state has no federally recognized tribes. As an alternative to enjoying Delaware slot machine casino gambling, consider exploring casino options in a nearby state. Bordering Delaware is, to the north, Pennsylvania, to the northeast, New Jersey, and to the south and west, Maryland. To visit any of my articles on these U.S. states, simply visit ProfessorSlots.com followed by its 2-letter postal designation. For example, my Pennsylvania slots article is available at ProfessorSlots.com/PA. Online gaming for real money gambling, including slots as well as poker and other casino games, exists in Delaware, although an online player must be at least 21 and physically located within the state's borders. See each Delaware casino website for links to this gambling option offered by Delaware. Delaware is one of the original states where sports betting was available in 2009. Sports betting is for multiple games at professional and college sporting events. Further, to help Delaware compete with casinos in neighboring states, all Delaware casinos offer table games of craps, blackjack, and roulette. The availability of other table games depends upon each casino. Are you interested in sharing and learning with other slots enthusiasts in Delaware? If so, join our Delaware Slots community on Facebook at ProfessorSlots.com/FBDE. All you'll need is a Facebook profile to join this private Facebook group freely. There, you'll be able to privately share your slots experiences as well as chat with players about slots gambling in or near Delaware. Again, use this convenient link I've created to go directly to our group on Facebook, ProfessorSlots.com/FBDE. Join us. The minimum and maximum payout returns for Delaware slot machines is 87% and 95%. These theoretical limits are an annual average for each machine. See Delaware Code 20, Chapter 4805, Section A15. However, games may have a payout return higher than 95% with an approval from the director of Delaware Lottery Games. I have not found out how often and for which machines the director has given this approval. What is known from these gaming regulations is that Delaware casinos do not directly control the odds of winning on their VLT-style slot machines. Delaware Lottery Games controls the odds of winning remotely off-site from Delaware casinos. Monthly return statistics are online at Video Lottery Monthly Proceeds and Distributions at Delaware Lottery Games. To calculate a player's win percent, divide amount won by amount played for a month, then multiply by 100%. Using the most recent month's statistics at the time of this review, September 2019, the player win percentages at each casino and overall is Delaware Park, an amount played of $162.4 million divided by an amount won of $175.9 million is, after multiplying by 100%, a player win percentage of 92.3%. Dover Downs, $163.4 million divided by $176.4 million is 92.6%. Harrington Raceway, $96.7 million divided by $105.7 million is 91.7%. And the state average for September 2019 was 92.3%. In summary, Delaware slot machine casino gambling consists of 3 pari-mutuel racetracks offering VLT-style slot machines controlled by the State Gaming Commission, Delaware Lottery Games. These VLT-style machines offer video slots, multiple games of video poker, video keno, and video blackjack. By law, all games must return between 87% and 95% of all wagers on an annual basis. However, these theoretical payouts can exceed 95% with the lottery director's approval. Monthly return statistics are publicly available from the state, with minimal calculations necessary to determine player win percentages. There's been little change in the gaming industry in Delaware over the last year. The total number of gaming machines has increased by 2% overall, while the previous year had had a significant decrease of 17%. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Part 1 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is not yet determined. I have several options again, and I'm weighing them once more. To suggest a topic or ask a question, which might end up as a blog article or as a podcast episode, email it to John@ProfessorSlots, where John is spelled Jon, or by calling 702-90-SLOTS to leave a voicemail. Part 2 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is another brief overview of the current state of gambling in the U.S. state, territory, or the federal district. Next time, I'll be talking to you about the great U.S. federal district of District of Columbia. That's the end of another great episode of the Professor Slots podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Show notes for this episode are now available within most podcast apps, but are also available on my website at ProfessorSlots.com/episode 71. I plan to have the next episode come out very soon for you, where I'll have more amazing content for the show. Until the next episode, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Happy New Year, everybody. Bye.